welcome to my channel. Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about the new Pat McGrath 5-pan shadow duos. I have both of them, Nude Allure and Bronze Bliss. So we are going to be doing 2 looks with each palette. I'll be showing you some swatches, going over my final thoughts on both of these. So if that sounds good to you, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I do upload videos twice a week on Sundays and Thursdays. But with all that out of the way, let's get started talking about the details of these 2 palettes. All right, so I know that Pat McGrath has caused quite a stir with her holiday collection. It is quite large. I'm not interested in everything. I didn't want the large holiday palette or the blush duos just because there wasn't enough new shades. I do have last year's holiday blush trios, so I decided to skip on those. I did, however, I was super excited for these 5-pan eyeshadow palettes. I thought it was a great addition to her holiday collection for people who maybe just want something a little bit smaller. I haven't bought any of Pat McGrath's big 30-pan eyeshadow palettes for holiday. None of them ever interested me. I did also pick up the new highlight and the new blush. That, of course, is shipping separately because she did release everything in different stages. So those are on their way to me. We all know about Pat McGrath's shipping times, so I'll just have to be a little bit patient for those. But expect a video on the blush and highlight. But let's just talk about these 2 palettes. So these 2 palettes, they are supposed to have a new formula to Pat McGrath. I did notice a little bit of a difference, but I'm not sure the scientific formula of what's different specifically in them. It does say on the Pat McGrath website that it has ultra soft velvet mattes, gleaming metallics and luminous shimmers, a creamy silken touch, smooth color laydown. And Pat says, each exquisite powder eyeshadow glides on effortlessly, delivering opulent opacity in a single stroke while building luxuriously blended layers of multi-dimensional color without caution. So here's a little close-up of the 2 palettes. Let's talk about Bronze Bliss first. So I'm going to pan over to some swatches here. We have Nude Moon, La Vie Noire, Lunar Luxury, Bronzed Mink, and Bronze Illusion. All of these are very beautiful. Specifically, I really love the navy and silver. That always just screams elegant holiday to me. I really love that. Let's now go over Nude Allure. Here is what this one looks like. And then let's switch over to the swatches. And first up, you have Mercurial Rose. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Mahogany Angel, Coral Kiss, Plum Eclipse, and Naked Bronze. So those are just some quick swatches. I'm sure there are lots of other videos that have some comparisons to other shades, other palettes, formulas, etc. I just wanted to show swatches of just the 2 palettes. But now I'm going to zoom you in, do 2 looks with each palette. We're gonna start with Bronze Bliss and move on to Nude Allure. And then afterwards, I will talk about my final thoughts. Anything that I am wearing on my face that I don't mention in the video is always listed down in the description box below. But let's get started with the first look using the Bronze Bliss palette. So I think we're gonna start with Bronze Bliss. This is the one that looks like this. It has this really nice navy blue in here, has this shade that I swatched. It does feel really creamy, so I'm interested to see how this goes. I'm gonna try and do 2 looks, 1 on each eye, and see what we can come up with. It's a little bit tough for me being only 1 matte, so I might reach in with a bronzer, but I'm gonna try to just limit it to a bronzer color, just so we have a little bit something extra, because if I was using this day to day, I probably would only go in with a bronzer. I don't really like reaching for complementary palettes. So let's just get started with look number 1. For the first look, I think I'm just gonna go a little bit traditional in eye look. So I'm gonna apply this in the crease here very lightly, and then we'll pick one of these shimmers. So I'm just gonna dip in. We're gonna see how pigmented this is real quick here. And I'm just going to apply this in the crease. And hopefully it's a buildable shade, so at least if we want to, we can build it up. It's not as pigmented as I was thinking it was going to be. Just lightly defining my crease here. Now I'm gonna go in with just a bigger blending brush and just kind of blend out the edges with my bronzer shade, just to bring it up a little higher. And then while I'm just working with this really dark matte here, I'm just going to do my lower lash line at the same time. So I'm going to just really close to the lash line, put in this Via Noir color, which is a clever play on words. I like that. And then I'm going to just blend that back out with my bronzer color. It is blending a lot better than I was expecting. I am no expert when it comes to eyeshadow. I have a hard time seeing. If you didn't notice, I wear glasses. So eyeshadow is definitely the makeup that I struggle with the most, just because I can't wear my glasses and apply makeup. So for being at the skill level that I am, I think that these mattes are blending pretty well. I will clean up that corner and just make it sharper at the end here. I'm gonna now take one of these shimmer shades. I'm thinking that this one, because this is the one I swatched first, and just put that all over the lid. And I'm gonna just use my finger. Just go like this. This is a pretty quick, simple, easy look. And I now just take this lightest shade here, pop that in the inner corner, just to brighten it up a little bit. This bronze shade here, this one, which is Nude Moon, that I put all over the lid, it's showing up just a little bit more bronze than I want. So I'm gonna take this shade, which is Bronze Illusion. I think maybe I got that backwards. Yes, I did. So Bronze Illusion is showing up a little bit more bronze than I would prefer. So I'm going to take Nude Moon, which is what I put in the inner corner. Just gonna put this Nude Moon shade in the center here, just to like brighten it up a little bit more. That bronze shade is just a little bit too bronzy for me, and I kind of want it to look a little bit cooler. So now that I have that Nude Moon in the center there, this is the final look for look number 1. Here's what it's looking like. I'm not sure if I love it. It's pretty, but let's try look number 2, see where that gets us, if I like that more. I wish that the matte was just a little bit lighter, brighter. I know that I can reach into another palette. I just am finding it a little bit tough to come up with looks. I'm gonna do a spotlight look, I guess. See how that works. We're just gonna lightly go on the outer corner, barely, just a little. It's actually showing up a little bit darker on camera than it is in person. And I'm gonna go in this inner corner. Lightly connect the two. Then go in, add this Via Noir to the bottom lash line, just like we did on the other side. Take my bronzer, just kind of blend out the edges here. Now that we have the matte in the inner and outer corner, I really want to use this silver. So I'm gonna again take that with my finger, and it is creamy. I'm almost gonna tap this on the back of my hand here just to make sure we get no fallout. And then I'm gonna apply that directly in the center. That is a silver. That is a silver. And I'm gonna go back in with that matte and just kind of meld two together so it looks a little bit more seamless. And then there's look number 2. I didn't get any fallout on either side. I just wanted to point that out. I'm going to apply some mascara just because I feel like it looks a little bit unfinished. So you can see both looks with the Bronze Bliss palette, just a little bit more finished put together. And then I will be back to show you the completed 2 looks. Mascara is on. I know it's a little bit of a waste because I'm about to take both of these off to play with the other palette, but this is what the 2 looks that I came up with are looking like. I don't hate them. I'm gonna save my opinions, I think, for just my final thoughts and once I use the second palette, but this is what they're looking like. Let's now do 2 more looks using the Nude Allure palette. So let's do 2 looks with the Nude Allure palette now. This one instantly just made me feel a little bit more comfortable. It's more in my wheelhouse. The matte, it still looks dark, but it doesn't look as dark as that navy. So let's do 2 looks with this. I am still going to potentially dip into my bronzer. We'll just have to wait and see. But what can we do? I'm almost tempted to just do the same steps that I did with the Bronze Bliss, just switch it up here. So we'll just do that. I'm gonna take the matte shade, which is Mahogany Angel, and we're going to define the crease and the outer corner. It is still dark, but it's a little bit more manageable than that La Vie Noire. And I know that people aren't as excited. This is kind of typical Pat McGrath coloring, but I like it. I am just off the bat having a little bit of a harder time blending this. I'm gonna go in with my bronzer, just try to sheer this out a little. Still looking a lot darker in the viewfinder than it is in person. It's definitely smoky. I just feel like in the viewfinder it's looking a lot darker. Whereas in person it's at least looking a little bit lighter. That's all right. Sometimes when I rewatch the footage, I'm like, what was I even talking about? It looks fine. Maybe it won't show up as dark once I'm editing. But now that we have this laid down, let's actually do my bottom lash line just real quick. Lightly take that. And then again, let's just lightly blend out that mahogany shade with my bronzer just so it's not so harsh. And I'll clean up that outer edge at the end. That's where I have the most trouble seeing, is right here. And then, okay, I think for this one, gonna kind of maybe do like a ombre glitter. So I'm gonna take this one here, Plum Eclipse. And then after that, this one, Coral Kiss. And then inner corner, Mercurial Rose. I don't know how to say that. All right, and just again, I'm gonna take my finger because with these shimmers, I feel like that works the best. So lightly just tap that on the outer third half. Coral Kiss. I'll place that a little bit closer. And then the rose right there on the inner corner, and almost just like lightly going over the rest of them to kind of blend it. I don't know how much you'll be able to really see the ombre effect, but I'm trying my best. This is new for me, and unfortunately you only get better when you practice, and that means failing. You can't be afraid to fail sometimes. I didn't start my YouTube for so long because I didn't want to go through the growing pains, and you just have to get over yourself. Life's not so serious. If someone wants to make it serious, that is not my problem. I think it looks pretty. I think it looks pretty. Actually, I like that a lot. So that is look number 1. Let's see if we can get a second look out of this palette. I think for look number 2, I'm going to take that matte again, spotlight, so inner outer corner, and then take the shimmer that I didn't use, which is Naked Bronze, this one here, and spotlight with that. So again, let's just lightly go in with this matte here on the outer corner, and I'm using the lightest touch when I'm doing this. It's just very pigmented and coming off very strong. And I'm using, for the most part, all the brushes I've been using are rougher brushes, the very small detailed ones. This one is the number 13. Let's do this on the inner portion a little bit. Connect it. Do my signature lower lash line. And then take my bronzer, just kind of blend out the top here. Again, there's been no fallout, just to point that out. We'll see how that last shimmer performs, but I haven't had any fallout with any of these shades, which is really nice. They stick really well to the fingers and they just transfer to the lid effortlessly, so I do appreciate that because there's nothing worse than fallout. And then let's just blend out the lower lash line. We have the matte there. I'm going to take this last shimmer here. This is Naked Bronze, and we're just going to tap that on the center. Go back in with my Refer 13, just very lightly go over the edges of that shimmer. And then that's it. Okay. This is a lot more subtle. It's definitely the most subdued eye look I did out of all 4. So here is the first look using Nude Allure, and then the second. I'm going to clean up the corners here a little bit, add some mascara just so you can see the finished look all complete, and I'll be right back. Real quick, here is the final 2 looks with mascara. I did apply liner just to my top lashes. I felt like it kind of needed it for both looks. The first palette, Bronze Bliss, I didn't really feel that way, but this one I did. So this is what we're looking like. I am going to now scoot you way back and put on my glasses and just give my final thoughts on these 2 palettes. Now that I've played with these palettes a little bit more, let's go over my final thoughts. So the most important question is, do I regret purchasing these palettes and would I purchase them again? So the answer is yes, I would purchase them again. I don't regret buying them. I do think though, just to play devil's advocate, we're kind of reaching just an era where people are really considering their makeup purchases now. Just everyone has so much makeup that we're seeing so much of the same thing. People are taking that extra step to really question whether they need a palette or not. And if you're one of those people, if you're someone just trying to cut back, I would just think about the amount of use you're going to get out of these palettes. While I don't regret having them, I can say the only negative thing is that I don't know how much I'm actually going to get use out of these. This is not a palette you can reach for every day. Specifically, Bronze Bliss is just a little bit too dark, smoky for my personal taste. I think that it's very beautiful. I think both of these palettes, the new formula really outshines itself. Pat McGrath did a great job with the new formula. I love all of these metallic shades. I do wish that the matte formula was the formula is great. I wish that the shade was maybe a little bit lighter, but everything can't cater to me. There are other skin tones out there, and since I'm a little bit lighter, it is what it is. I also want it to work for other skin complexions. but both of these are great. I go back to how much use I'm gonna get out of them. Bronze Bliss, like this is just, for me, it's going to be an event palette. It's not something I can reach for all the time. I'll be happy when I do reach for it. I came up with very simple, easy looks that I feel look very elevated. So I love that. Out of all 4 looks, I would say I prefer this one, which I use the Nude Allure, and then I just put the matte on the inner and outer corner with a shimmer in the middle to spotlight. Again, 2 shades, super simple, but I think that it looks really stunning on the eye. I love all the looks that I came up with. They're just not looks I can wear every day. I work from home. I don't see a lot of people. If you're someone who works in an office, or you see a lot of people, or you need to get a little bit more dressed up, or if you're just someone who likes to wear darker, smokier makeup on a day-to-day, that's great too. I just think these palettes are going to sit in my collection and not get as much love as I want them to get. So that's my only thing, to just maybe take a pause and think about the amount of usage you're gonna get out of them. But other than that, they performed beautifully. I'm so happy that Pat McGrath came out with something like this for holiday. As I mentioned in my intro, I've never really been interested in her larger holiday palettes. They're just, 1, they're too big for me. 2, they're just too colorful for me. So she really found an option for people like me who just want something small, simple, and a little bit less colorful. While it's still a very dark, smoky color story, it's at least more simple and something that I'll wear, just I don't know how often. And I love that. I think that these are great, great palettes. If you love Pat McGrath, I don't think you'll be disappointed. And I really can't stress enough, I love the new formula. They just glide on so effortlessly. They're so creamy. Even comparing her mothership palettes, I did recently do a ranking all my Pat McGrath palettes. I'll link that video above. But some of those shimmers, not her special shades, but some of the shimmers, they can be a little flaky. They can be not as punchy. These pack a punch, but they're still, you can tell they're Pat McGrath, where they give that wash of color. They're opaque, but it's still like a wash of color. It's very difficult for me to explain, but the formula of these I like better than the mothership shimmers. And I hope that going forward, she sticks with these and sees how much more people will like them. I'm assuming that other people like them just as much as I do. I haven't seen any reviews on these yet. I've just been too busy to be on YouTube, but hopefully other people like them just as much as I do. And she continues on with that formula, because that's really just the standout for these 2 palettes for me. And I love them. But that's where I'm gonna leave you all. I don't wanna keep rambling, saying the same thing over and over about these palettes. Are you on the fence about them? Did you pick them up straight away like I did without even giving it a second thought? Let me know in the comments. And with that, I will see you all in my next video. Bye, everyone.